Hi and welcome to the Boxing Promoter podcast, again with myself, Jack Blair. Today I've got a few things to cover. I'm obviously fresh back from the big indie pitch yesterday, where I was down speaking with representatives of Amazon and Unity and mobile gamers and places like that. So I'll give some feedback on how I got on with that. There's also a new version of the game available in test flight, so recommend people to give that a download and see some of the new adjustments and bug fixes we brought in. Small update on release date, where we seem to be getting closer to a more accurate date, so I'll let you know on that. And then a little review of how the weekend's boxing went, and I look forward to next weekend's boxing and so on. Let's start with the big indie pitch, which I was down in Brighton at yesterday, talking to a few representatives of Amazon and other places about the Boxing Promoter. The aim was that you're scored on your pitches, you're scored out of 10, and the winning 3 get a advertising grant and some other Amazon based goodies. So before I describe what it was like in there, I just want to say that the people that put it on, Still Media and the guys from Amazon and other places that were down there, they're some of the greatest people that I've met in the gaming world. They're real experts, and they were really kind, and they put on it was really nice. So I really appreciate how they put it on the day. So we're getting to exactly how it sort of works. So we're upstairs in a pub. Unfortunately, the pub was way too small to hold everyone there. There was about 100 people crammed into a tiny room, so it was a little bit uncomfortable in the main area with the bar. But then when it's your turn to pitch, you go through into the other room. There's 5 kind of stations to pitch at. You get 4 minutes with each station. That's it, to pitch your game as best as you can. At each station there's 3 experts and judges, who are going to score your game out of 10 or score everyone's game out of 10. So yeah, you go in there, it's a little bit daunting. I took in my iPad and my iPhone, both with the new updated version of the game on to show everyone. It's strange because there's a lot of people react differently. So I had some people that they jump straight onto the app. They kind of love the idea of a boxing management game. This sounds great. I've never seen anything like this. Which, obviously because there's nothing like it on the App Store. So jumped straight on it, interacted with it, and then with other people, I was kind of handing them my phone over, and they were looking at it blankly, what do you want me to do with this? Playing it would be sound, mate. That's what you're supposed to do with a game. So it was strange, how many different characters you had there. You had people who seemed really engaged with it and asked me some fantastic questions, gave me some unbelievable advice on how to grow it, things that they maybe want changing. I'll get all my feedback sent to me in a couple of weeks time, which is feedback from every single one of the judges, which will be great to have a read through and see what they thought. I'll try and put that on the blog if it's not too bad. And so that was really cool. But as I said, there was some people that I went over to, and they just they didn't appear to be keen at all. Obviously, I don't know what they scored me, but they didn't appear to be keen or engaged. I don't know if it was the way that I was pitching it, or the game itself, what I was showing them, or if they just didn't really want to be there. I don't know. Some other people said that they had the kind of same feeling at some of the tables, but 4 minutes it's a very short time if they're really engaged with the game and they want to ask loads of questions, and it's also a very long time if they're not engaged and not asking questions, and you kind of just want to crawl into a corner or just move straight on to the next person. So all in all, I think I did okay down there. I didn't wait to hear the results. There were some incredible games there with loads and loads of backing, which I'm sure were the most successful ones. But I think at one of the tables they were really engaged with it, and I feel like I would have probably scored quite highly from them. One of the tables didn't seem to like it at all. I'm not really sure that why, but one of the guys in particular didn't like the game. So that was kind of put off the other 2 people on the table who might have liked the game, but they would obviously be biased by the one person's view. And the others were kind of okay, difficult to gauge because they didn't engage or disengage. So I don't know. We'll find out from the feedback how he got on. But other than the venue, which was pretty horrible, it's meant to be like a real social environment where you get talking to publishers and all of these representatives of these massive gaming companies, like really good contacts, which is a brilliant setup to have, and you can just talk about games for ages. But the venue constricted any of that from happening because you were squashed into this upstairs room, basically with your backs against the walls like sardines, and it just made it a very like unsocial environment to talk to people. So I really loved the idea of it and the commitment that some of the companies went through, but I had to get out of there. It was too cramped for me. So once I was done pitching, no, my mate wasn't pitching on the day, so me and him just headed back and we'll wait for our feedback to come through. But that's pretty much it for the big indie pitch. I think it was still worth me going. It was really good practice for me to get into a kind of pressure scenario talking about my game, which I will probably come across hopefully will come across in the future. So that was a good experience, but yeah, it definitely could have gone down better, I feel. On to the next bit, which is the brand new version of the game, which is now available in Test Flight. If you still had Test Flight and Boxing Operator installed, it should have just like notified you, or next time you log into Test Flight, it will notify you and say, oh, there's a new version available to download. It's got all the addition of the dialogue. It might start you from the tutorial again, in which case that will be a good thing because you get to go through all of the new dialogues in the tutorial. It walks you all the way through till when you're booking fights and everything like that. So that's really awesome. That's like a really cool new version. There's not a lot of kind of extra bits. It's more all of the fixes have taken place, all of the dialogue and language is in there. The images are in there for the equipment now, which they look awesome. So yeah, I'm really happy. It was a much better version to obviously show the people at the indie dev pitch, or the big indie pitch. So that's really cool. So if you haven't already, then go and download that, give it another try, and yeah, see how you get on with that. The other thing, when I was speaking to the developers a couple of days ago, maybe even yesterday morning, we spoke about release date, and what they basically said is, in its kind of base like version, with all the updates that they know that they have to do, the game would be ready by the end of the month. So late July, the Boxing Promoter would be ready for release. What would change that is if I want to bring in something which is going to have to get quoted for and be quite a large update, or not even that large an update, but just something that would have to do a little bit of back and forth. So I believe that there's certainly one or two things that I think I would actually like to add to the game before it's ready for full release, because I want to be as confident as possible that this game is going to really take off and have as much in it as it needs for the initial release of the game. So keep your eye on that. But it sounds good. The game as it is will be ready by the end of July, which is awesome. And then extra bits, they shouldn't take too long, so long as we can assign some dev time to them. So that's progress. What I said to the guys at the big indie pitch yesterday is that I'm probably going to look, if we can, to release it mid-August. You've got the big Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight at the end of August. The 2 weeks leading up to it, people are just going to be talking about boxing, whether or not they're talking about how terrible an idea and a fight it is, or how psyched they are to watch it. They're going to be talking about boxing, and that's the best time to release a game like this. Whilst everyone's talking about boxing, that's when we can really kind of jump on that bandwagon and hopefully explore from it. Whereas right now, if we were to release it, no one's really talking about boxing right now. Boxing fans are, but not casual fans, that all drift in and out. So I want to catch as much of an audience as I can right when they're hooked on boxing. So that's what I'm hoping for, a mid-August release, and it would be great if we can get to that. So what's next? at the weekend, as I'm sure you know because I haven't stopped talking about it, I was at York Hall, thanks to New Age Boxing, who offered me the opportunity to go down there and report on the fights. So I was right at the very front with my press pass. I'd never been to a small hall show before. I've been to like bigger boxing events and some amateur events, but I've never been to a small hall professional show before, and I was absolutely amazed by the atmosphere in there. I thought it was incredible. I thought it was so loud. It was kind of, it's difficult to describe, but it was kind of like a family based atmosphere. So you had quite a few fans in there who were just there to watch all of the boxing, but mainly what you had was like gatherings of family and friends of one fighter, and then there'd be the gatherings of the family and friend of the other fighter on the other side of the hall, and they'd just be going absolutely mad when their boxer's on. And it's amazing to see. You had one guy called Tunjay who was making his professional debut, and he done brilliantly. And his opponent wasn't really throwing shots, but he was nice and patient. He won via a fourth round knockout. He had sold tickets to 200 people for his debut, which is incredible. Like 200 of his friends turned up. They all had T-shirts with his I think he's like #ManDown. All had T-shirts of it. They were going absolutely bonkers throughout his whole fight. And I just think, what an atmosphere to make your professional debut in. At York Hall, it's basically full, hot as hell in there, and you got like 200 people absolutely screaming for you, and he put on a really good performance for them. So, I just thought the atmosphere of it and the whole evening of boxing was amazing. There was a lot of fights. It was a very, very large card. But I never at one point was sort of looking at my watch thinking, when's this going to be over? All of the fights or almost all the fights were competitive. All of them were entertaining, and it was really a great night of boxing at York Hall. So thanks to Goodwin Boxing and the team there for putting on a brilliant show. The main event was great, with Arfan Iqbal knocking out Wadi Camacho in the fourth round. And Arfan Iqbal, his right hand just carries so much power. Wadi should have been defending a lot better, but that right hand will cause problems to like anyone if he can get land in it. So he's a real interesting character now in the cruiserweight division, which on the domestic scene looks really busy. So he's definitely one to look out for. So thanks to everyone who was at York Hall, the guys from Fight Talk for looking after me on the day, and James at Round 8 for making sure that I was alright, found my seat okay, and was ready to report on the action. If you haven't read the fight report yet, it is on the New Age Boxing website. So I posted it up recently, so just go down on my Twitter page or something and you'll be able to find it. So have a read of it. There was some really good boxing on. Definitely some fighters to keep an eye on who are coming through. So that was great. What else do we have on at the weekend for boxing? We had a Channel 5 fight night. We had a BT Sport fight night. We had the draft picking of the World Boxing Super Series. So starting with the Davies Taylor fight. My prediction beforehand was that Taylor would win. I thought Taylor would outbox Davies and win on points. I didn't quite expect what I saw, and Taylor was pretty incredible. I did write about this briefly in my blog, but running out of words to use to describe how good Taylor was on the day, because he was immense. Inside work, outside work, he was just better than Nahara Davies in all ways. And Nahara Davies, needs to have his head held high for taking the fight, for turning up. A lot of boxers would have avoided him and tried to scrape his way to a world title, but he wanted the fight. He wants to fight anyone. So he's a very entertaining character, Nahara Davies. Whether or not you love him or you hate him, he brings entertainment. So hopefully he manages to bounce back well from it. It was a pretty devastating knockout, and he did quit. There's no difference about it. He had the fight beaten out of him by Josh Taylor. He couldn't land anything on him of note. So it was a sad performance for Davies, but Taylor was just incredible. The other show on BT Sport, The Future Is Now. I didn't watch it at the night. I actually got up in Sunday morning and watched it, and to be fair, I fast forwarded through quite a fair bit of it because I didn't find it that engaging a show. There was some like interesting fights. The William Smile fight was good. It wasn't as good as last time, but that was good. But yeah, there was quite a few one-sided matchups. The only fight that I actually thought was, it wasn't even that close a fight, but Arsenio Byfield's performance was pretty incredible. He's a real strange character, and he's definitely one to watch because he's confident as anything. He will literally take on anyone. So I did enjoy watching that. And then the aftermath of what happened after he won was just ridiculous, and something that's very, very rarely seen in boxing right now of fans fighting amongst themselves. But it obviously does still happen. I thought it was more of like a 90s thing, 80s thing, but no, it does still happen. People still fight amongst themselves if their boxer doesn't win. So that wasn't nice to see at all. But we move on. Hopefully, we'll look forward to some more better BT Sport fights coming up. Obviously, Yard and Dubois both progressed, but due to their kind of, or Yard in particular, his lack of amateur background, he's going to be progressed slowly. Dubois, due to his age, is going to be progressed slowly as well. So we've still got probably a couple of years before we see them in good competitive matchups. The last thing, as I mentioned, the World Boxing Super Series and the kind of draft or the seedings were decided. So if you haven't watched it, I don't know if it's worth watching back, but you had super middleweights, the cruiserweights, and the top seeds were like George Groves was the top seed in the super middleweights, and Usyk was the top seed in the cruiserweights. They then get to pick out of the 4 fighters who are unseeded for who they want to box, and then obviously that sorts out the quarterfinals. So Groves went straight for Jamie Cox. Confident as anything. He obviously really fancies his style to beat Cox. No one really knows. Like, there's loads of stories about how good Cox is from behind closed doors, but nobody really knows just how good he is when he's going to be tested at world level. But Groves obviously is in no way scared of him. He sees him as an easy night's work. So, but there are some other good-looking fights. I think the cruiserweights will really hot up once they get through to the semi-finals. You'll start seeing some great matchups. Eubank Senior was there. In case you missed it, he for some reason was picking the opponent for Eubank Jr. or Arthur Abraham. The winner of that will fight. I can't think of his name. But it was the Turkish fighter. It was the small Turkish fighter. So yeah, and that's what we're looking forward to this Saturday. So Eubank Jr. versus Arthur Abraham and the ITV pay-per-view card. There are some good fights on it. It's $16.95, which seems excessive considering the last one was $9.95, but it is a better card than last time, so it's difficult to really judge what it should be. For me, I would say that Eubank Jr. is still being established, so I understand that it should be pay-per-view, but maybe like $12.95 would be reasonable, but it's kind of splitting hairs there. I'm not going to pay for it because I've got my own fight on the Saturday night, so I wouldn't be able to watch it anyway. And by Sunday morning, I'm pretty sure that on YouTube somewhere will be all those fights, so it would be pretty pointless me paying for a card that I can just watch on YouTube the next day for free. So that's what I'll be doing. I'm preparing all this week for my fight on Saturday. I found out my opponent. I posted him on my own Twitter account. I might post him on the Boxing Promoter one, but I don't know if that's a bit cheeky. He's a lot shorter than me. I'm going to use my reach advantage. I'm definitely going for a knockout win this time because last time I lost on a split decision. So I'm not taking any chances this time. I've been training well. I'm a lot calmer than I was last time. Last time I was super nervous, but I just want to go in there and have a bit of fun and hopefully take him out in the end of the first round, second round. But you'll probably hear me talking to you guys next week and saying that I got absolutely beaten the crap out of for 3 rounds and lost. So we'll see how that goes. But look, nothing more to really report on today. I'll keep you guys up to date. But thank you so much for listening, as always. And I will catch you soon. Bye.